Strawberry corner ceases to exist today because I'm taking all the strawberries out of the pallet planter and moving them. So this area of the garden will now be known as the chillutery. Thank you for all your amazing suggestions, guys. Fabby. We also have a big raised planter thing that we're going to build and we're going to try for the strawberries. We're going to build that today, get it filled with compost and get it in situ with the strawberries, which means I need compost. So it's been 3 months, so I'm going to go and get some compost out the bin, hopefully. Okay, if I leave you to this and I will go and get you some compost to put in it. Because apparently it takes about 300 litres of compost.
Bloody hell. Yes. We could always put a body in the bottom.
Who?
I don't know, the next person to annoy me, I suspect.
I'll just be over. It's moments like this that we're glad that we make our own compost, because this apparently takes about 300 litres of compost, which would be a pretty penny. I can get most of it from the bin, but I need a shovel. So, I said I would give you guys a bit of a comparison between what it's like running the two bins, because this bin has had some features changed since I bought this. This is the Mark 1, the first version. This is the Mark 2. There's not a lot's changed. So things like on the back, they've changed it so it's not a big sticky outy hinge anymore, which means it just fits a bit neater against things in the garden. Which, to be honest, I don't think I notice. I was going to say this is much more stable than this one, but I think that's possibly the plinth that does that, not to do with the hinge, but it's definitely more stable. The other change is the little drainage outlet for collecting the leachate. Now, there are a lot of things I've noticed, and it's not to do with the change in the bin. I think it's purely because we've now set it up here. It's on the patio, it's visible. I'm over here a lot more than I used to be over there, so I'm seeing a lot more. So one of the main things is I'm pretty sure that I'm not adding enough paper to the bin, even though I'm adding way more than the ratio on the website. Obviously it's because I'm adding a lot of moisture rich stuff to it, because I'm getting so much leachate coming out that it's scary, and apparently you should only get maybe an espresso cup's worth. Yeah, I'm getting litres. So we're going to have to start really upping the amount of paper we're adding. So there's an adventure we're going to go on, and I'll take you guys through. But apart from that, it is no different. I have noticed no difference running this bin than I did running this bin. It's completely the same. This time round, the bin has been at 70, slightly over 70 the entire time until the last few weeks, when the weather has really changed and we no longer have garden waste to be adding. So I just don't have enough material to keep the bin churning at those temperatures. But other than that, it has been up at the full whack the entire time. But I don't think that's to do with the bin design. I think that's me and my learnings, and I've got better at adding stuff to it. Now, one of the claims on their website is you can have mulch like compost in a minimum of a month, but you can have actual good rich compost in a minimum of 90 days. And I think this is important. It's a minimum of 90, not guaranteed on 90. It has been 90 days. It's actually not bad. There are a few bits of paper that haven't composted down. I just can't get the staff these days. A few bits of paper that haven't composted down and a couple of bits of eggshell, but everything else is looking really good. I'm going to get this out and get it in that barrel because we're going to use it to fill the trug. Not bad, let's go. This is lovely. I I had switched the camera off while I was working because we try and save the batteries. So you missed me just saying to Kate, I am way happier than anyone should be about dirt. Honestly, this is the best compost I've ever had. Look. It's the first time I've ever had this beautiful crumbly compost. However, one of us has been putting stuff in the bin without chopping it up from the kitchen waste box because I'm finding whole potatoes in here. Neither of us will admit who it was, but it was one of us. What did you say?
I said by one of us, did you mean me?
No, genuinely it's one of us. Whoever emptied it didn't check if it needed chopped up. What it needs is a toggle. We don't have a spare toggle anywhere, do we?
No, I don't think so.
Yeah.
It's huge.
We measured, it should fit. So this is an accessory that you can buy for it that's a cover that goes on the top. So it turns it into, like, you know, we've got our hooped beds. I don't know what to expect.
Oh, it's like camping time, it's lots of poles.
I'm thinking Wendy House. It's these, like, sort of metal aluminium or whatever coated poles.
Flashbacks to gazebos.
So is that for that one? Right, so it's a polythene type cover, which for some of you guys might be handy for winter.
It's got a doorway and everything.
Yeah. So it's a double zip.
Yeah, so it's got a big zip pouch on the front and it's got ones on the ends as well.
What it is, the inside zip, you can open it up for air, it's a vent. Can you get that side? Because it's got a Enviromesh.
Ah, that's clever.
So you can open it up and let the air in, which you will really need to do.
And there's
but
retaining.
If you want to get in,
and there's retainers for that.
There's a zip so you can take the mesh off, if you get that side again. And that's actually proper so you can get in. That is quite clever.
And then there's tie straps so you can roll that up like a blind and tie it up out of the way.
There's lots of ventilation, so that's good.
Oh, come on.
So the first thing then, we are not getting rid of this pallet planter, okay? So that's the first thing. We really like it here and we love what it looks like when it's got plants in it and it's all green and colourful. So we're definitely keeping it. But I've decided it's not right for the strawberries, mostly because strawberries are a fruiting plant, so they need a lot of nutrition, a lot of water. They really need looked after. And we found that this whole pallet system, really, we struggle to keep it watered for a few reasons. So they're quite narrow little troughs here, so there's not actually a lot of space and a lot of soil. So we're constantly having to feed and keep it going and stuff. But also, the very fact that it's vertical. We thought water would run from the top down because we made sure we drilled holes and all that kind of thing. But actually what we're finding is hardly any of this is getting, even when it pelts with rain, hardly any of it gets water because it is vertical and the rain's not hitting it. But also it's coming out of the sides and dripping down, not underneath. So it's not going into the ones below either. So we're really having a time keeping it watered. So we're moving all the strawberries and we'll replace them. We'll pick more appropriate plants for this area, but we are keeping it. So what we're going to do, I don't want to put the strawberries back into one of the beds because, especially with the new system I'm going to be doing next year, space is an absolute premium. So again, we're going to try and use space cleverly, and no, actually, you'll see in a minute. First thing I'm going to do is get all of these out, and I can tell you about the whole winterising your strawberries as I do it. Okay, so the vegtrug is built. It's turned around because I just didn't like the way it looked sitting proper face, the proper way around. So it's actually backwards, but we prefer how it looks. But as you can see, it's a big, tall raised bed basically. Okay, a good bit smaller than the beds we've got there, but it is essentially a big deep raised bed. So I'm hoping the strawberries might be happy here. Strawberries will die back over winter, and that's okay, they are meant to. I don't take my strawberries into the greenhouse or anything like that. I leave them out in the garden over winter. But what I do is, you will see, if I can pick one up, the leaves all naturally just die back, okay? And I think that's what people panic about, but that's what's meant to happen. What's left is this bit, it's called the crown. And this is the important bit that we're going to protect. So we want to make sure that they are actually planted, they're deep in the soil, and I'm going to put some straw over them as well to protect them. So all I'm doing then is just going to go round and tidy them up. I'm going to take all the leaves off and just leave the little crown. Well, there's a couple of tiny leaves I'll maybe leave on for just now, but it's not essential. Okay, that is all these plants tidied up. So I've trimmed away all the dead stalks and leaves and stuff from the top. I've tried to get as much of the soil out of the root balls as possible, and I've checked through them to make sure they're all healthy. There's none that look like the roots are all rotted, and always, always when you're moving anything from one area of the garden to the other, whether it's from beds or pots, I've checked to make sure there is nothing nasty in there I don't want. It's one of the good things about this planter actually. It's really nice and deep. So I can get the strawberries in here nice and deep, nice and safe. Because as you can see, these are really established plants now. Nice big root balls. We have a cup of tea for my lady. Thank you very much. Yeah, I see. I need a. This needs a thing there for tea. Yes, please, if you wouldn't mind. Could you have that done this afternoon?
No, I won't put that because it'll fall over.
Just shove it on there. Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Remember I said? That is a vine weevil grub. I'm going to show you close up on the GoPro. If you find any of these little guys, so they're that kind of pale colour with a brown head, get rid of them, squish them, okay? These little guys will kill your plants. The grubs will just go and eat all the root mass and squish. You don't want them. I hate squishing them, I get really squeamish, but bad. So there we go. One bed, chock-a-block with strawberry plants, but I'm not finished yet. So I said we want to cover those crowns and keep them really protected from the really harsh weather. So like we don't want the crowns getting harmed by the frost and what have you. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to mulch the top. Now, you guys, again, I've done loads of strawberry videos and I've done one specifically about mulching them. So the reason I mulch them during the summer when they're producing is so that the fruit isn't sitting on the wet soil because it can rot. What I'm doing now is I'm mulching them just to keep them covered, keep them protected from the worst of the weather. So pretty much my strawberries are just mulched all year, like my veggies. I don't use anything fancy for mulching. Oh, now, if you don't know what mulch is, again, up at the top left and in the video description, I've done an entire video about mulch, so go and watch that. But I just use straw for this stuff. I happen to have this Strulch stuff because I was giving it a try. Other years, I've just bought straw from the pet shop and it worked brilliant. So, you know, just use whatever you fancy. I'm not going to tell you what to use. and a nice thick layer on here. And if you've got leaves on any of those little plants, you can just roughly move the mulch away from them. It doesn't have to be super exact and perfect because the plants will find their way. Luckily, I roughly know where I put all the plants. There we go. One new strawberry bed. Now, the blackbirds in spring will come and steal all of your straw and they will make a right mess. Happens to me all the time. So you may want to think about covering this over. But in summer, I usually try and cover my strawberries anyway because the birds eat them. Oh, if for nothing else, that cup of tea is lovely just to hold. My fingers are like ice. So there we go, a really, really busy day in the garden today. So we built this new vegtrug wall hugger, and I have to say thank you so much to Quick Crop for sending us this to try out. So we got that built. We've moved the strawberries, so they're in here, so we will keep you up to date. June is normally, the end of June is normally when we get our strawberries, but we'll keep you up to date on how it's looking, how the plants are looking as we go on. And obviously, the chillutery, which it is now called, we'll update you on what we're going to plant in there because we're definitely keeping the planters. And you saw me get overexcited about my fabulous compost. So there you go. So here was me saying, no, there's no difference and it didn't feel any different to use. But I don't know, maybe it's as much as me moving it and being more aware. Maybe that's all it took. Definitely much better compost this time. And I was just ridiculously happy. On the compost front, there are some more compost videos coming up very soon, guys. I've got a couple of videos. One, we're going to have a wee chat with beanie composters, and the other one, I'm doing another collaboration with lots of other YouTubers. Some of them I know you guys are big fans of, so stay tuned for all of that. Okay, that's me then. I'm knackered, I'm cold, and I'm going in. See you next week, guys.